we're not meant to know the answers. We're not meant to know the reasons why. I was up, till midnight, had my little breakdown, and then watched Dance Moms. Like what? Whatever you're feeling, odds are you're not alone. And don't think of what can go wrong. Don't think of all those things, because right now it's good. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Mackenzie, and for today's video, I'm going to switch things up a little bit and talk about something a little deeper than I usually do. I'm usually lighthearted and kind of just like add humor to things, but I feel like this is really important for me to talk about. So as you guys know, I had COVID 2 months ago. I'm immunocompromised and I had a double lung transplant October 28th, 2019. So I'm coming up on 2 years in October, which is what? I had a post-COVID exam yesterday. And so I want to talk a little bit about that appointment, everything that went on, all the results, all the things that I had to do, and kind of take you through my day. And I want to talk about 2 important things that I feel like are a result from that appointment. I want to be really in-depth and open about my journey with CF, journey with double lung transplant, post things that can happen in case you are on the transplant list of any kind, and you kind of want to know the post effects, and I want you to know that whatever you're feeling, odds are you're not alone. And I just want to spread, my knowledge on things that come up as I go through this process. I first want to say that when I was told that I was going to have a post-COVID exam, I was really, really nervous, just because, COVID has been such a monster. Like, it's been such a monster to so many people and destroyed a lot of people. And so I was definitely so scared to get it because my lungs are fragile. The risk of rejection, chronic rejection, infection, all the horrible things are there when I found out that I had COVID. And luckily, and I'm so thankful that I was put on Molnupiravir, which is a antiviral medication that stops the DNA replication of the virus. So I'm very, 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 very thankful that I was put on that, and that my biggest symptom was a very bad headache, and I had a fever at the same time for that day. But I say, if that was my biggest symptom, I got through it and I was okay. I think my other, I did have respiratory, I guess. I did have a really chunky cough, for lack of words, but I had a chunky cough that was pretty prevalent for a few days, and then it kind of cleared up on its own, which is weird in itself because when you have cystic fibrosis, I was always used to, if I had a cough like that, I needed to get antibiotics really fast. If I just left my cough the way it was, I was going to get pneumonia, get really sick, really bad things were going to happen. And my body just cleared up the cough, which is just weird, but that was really cool. So going into my appointment yesterday, a few days before, even a week before, I was really nervous because, I don't know, I do this thing where the mind is a crazy thing. It seriously tricks you into thinking things that aren't even happening, that aren't even prevalent, that aren't even a reality. And so I was thinking, okay, I know that I feel good. Logically in my head, I'm I feel really good. I run, I walk a lot, I dance a lot, I'm always moving and I don't feel tired. I feel good, but I'm psyching myself out and making myself feel like I'm gonna go in, my breathing test is gonna be at 50%, everything's gonna just crash. So the night before the appointment, for some reason, I got really calm and I was like, you know what, you're good. You're totally good. I went to sleep, I woke up in the morning, I still felt calm. So now we see where I'm going to take you through my day. So the first thing I always do on my transplant appointments is you get blood work first, and you have to get your blood work before you take your tacrolimus, which is the anti-rejection med. They have to measure your levels of where they're accurately at before you take another dose of the anti-rejection med. And so I got my blood work done, and then after that you go up to take your x-ray, and then the radiologist was like, looks good. So then I left, and then the third thing that I always do is pulmonary function tests. So I go up to the pulmonary floor and I get a breathing test, which is something I've done my entire life. It is my worst enemy, I think, because definitely when I was younger, you know, it was like you went in there, you didn't really think about it. And then I blew, you know, my first 50% at 9 years old. So I've always had low functioning lungs. And so it's just always been a really big fear of mine is the pulmonary function lab. So I go up there and the nerves that I had before started kicking in and telling myself, like, you're about to, it's all gonna come down on you. Like, everything's gonna happen. And so I go in there and get my weight, I get my height, and I go into the lab. First of all, the pulmonary function girl was so nice. I really, really liked her. She was new, but I just want to say I really, really liked her. She made me feel really comfortable, and I was really glad that I got someone like that, because people like her really calm my nerves and help me a lot. Do my pulmonary function tests, and I'm always like, did they look comparable? Like, did they look good? Before transplant, I never really wanted to know my numbers, but I wanted to like have hints and kind of read them of like how I'm doing, but knowing the actual number always scared me. But I was like, are they comparable? Like, I say that instead of like, what is it? Like, I'm so weird. But I'm like, are they comparable to last time? Am I okay? And they're like, 98%. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I feel really great. So then after that, I had to do another test where it's the same type where you blow in really deep. If you've ever had a pulmonary function test, what you do is you kind of have a few normal breaths, and then you breathe in really deep, and you blow out, and you breathe out, and you just breathe out for as long as you can. And they kind of coach you through it, and then that gives you your function score.
One more normal. All right, now fill up big and deep. Blast it. Good, keep pushing, keep squeezing, gentle squeeze, gentle push, almost there. Huge breath in, big, 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 big. Good. Come off and relax.
They look good.
They look good.
Okay. Like, I had 19% lung function before my transplant.
Wow.
So I almost like still like it's like retraining myself how to do this, because I used to have to like push so much and like give my like all. Yeah. Now it's really just like I do really kind of nothing, and it like makes me good score.
Absolutely, your lungs will just like snap out that air.
So then I had to do another test, and this is part of the COVID workup. The last, just a pulmonary function test, is just standard. It's just what I get every time. And then I had to do a couple more breathing tests. So the next one was they measure your normal breathing, and then you take a slight big breath, and then you kind of exhale all of that, and then you breathe in really deep, but they shoot gas through the one thing, through the little, it's kind of hard to explain. It's the mouthpiece, and it goes up and it calibers and it calculates O2 levels and all the things that give you your score on this test. So you breathe in deep. Instead of just exhaling it, you hold it for 8 seconds, and then you exhale everything for as long as you can again, and then that gives you a score. And so I guess it has to be higher than 90% is where they want it. I got a 92, and last time, these are the tests that I had to get before having a transplant to get my allocation score and to be put on the list, and I had a 22%. You have to get a 90. Like, now I'm 92. I'm like, girl, you are good. You are good. Stop psyching yourself out. I feel great. I actually had to do that test 8 times because I kept messing up. Because I forgot how to do it, and then I would mess up, and then I'd be like, and then the mouthpiece would like fall off the thing. And I would just be like, okay. So I ended up doing it like 8 times. I got done with that test, and then it was time for the 6-minute walk test, which I was so scared about. Why? I don't know. But I got this same test done 3 years ago around this time. And I'll kind of get into that in a minute. This last test, 6-minute walk test. So there is a certain distance of a black dot to a black dot, and you just walk for 3 minutes, your normal pace. And they put a O2 monitor and a little headband right here to measure your pulse. And so I do that. I'm like thinking in my head the whole time, it's dropping into 88%. It's dropping below 88%. I'm going to have to be brought in. I'm going to have to be given oxygen. And then they're like, I'm done with that. I'm done with the 3 minutes of that. And they're like, the lowest you dropped was 99. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I started at 100 and then only went to 99. So then I had to do another 3 minutes of fast-paced walking. And I thought, okay, for sure, like, I'm out of breath. Yeah. But I wasn't really out of breath. She goes, you never drop below 100% oxygen. And I was just like, okay. So then I started to feel really relieved, and I was like, I got this. Like, I got this. I'm okay. I am good. And I started to accept that maybe it is good, and like I'm allowed to celebrate this victory and stop thinking that at any second things are going to go wrong, because I do that. And like I said, I'll get into that, but I kind of just wanted to tell you about my day a little bit. After all those tests were done, that took like 45 minutes to an hour. And then I go up to the pulmonary floor to talk to my doctor kind of about all the tests that I did for that day. My heart tests all came back good in the lab work. My lab work was all great. My white blood cell count went down, so there's no infection. Like, everything was great. And that's where you get, like, that's where I get like suspicious that things are just gonna go wrong. So then the last tests of the day were 2 heart tests. One was an echocardiogram and the other one was an EKG. I did the echo first, and it's weird because it's not painful compared to the other things that I've had. Like, it's fine, it's bearable, but it is uncomfortable because I have this thing where, because it's a sonogram of your heart, and so they have to kind of push the sonogram right here where your heart is, and right here by your sternum, and then right here. So whenever they would move the sonogram, it's uncomfortable because I have this thing where, like, ever since transplant, I just don't really like to touch right here. Like, it just kind of freaks me out a little bit, and they had to push on your chest bone. You're kind of like, ugh, the whole time, like cringing a little bit, and you're just like, I can't wait for this feeling to be over, because it kind of really does make you feel like nauseous a little bit. But overall, like, it was fine. And then the EKG I've had so many times. It's just the little electrodes, and they kind of stick them on you, and then they just measure your waves, your heart waves, for any, you know, arrhythmias or anything like that. And that went well too. And so the appointment was done after a very, also I got my COVID booster when I talked to my doctor, so that was really great. But I'll also get into what happened after that at the end of this video. But yeah, I got my COVID booster, so we are great, we are good. And that was the end of the appointment, and I was tired. Like, I was really tired because I had a really long day, like 7:30 till, we didn't get home until around 4. It was a recap of my appointment. So it was so successful. I was so excited, so happy, and just really, really relieved, because like, living your whole life going to appointments where you kind of have to expect everything to go wrong, and you kind of have to expect disappointment, it feels really, really good to now have this new found like appreciation to when I go to my appointments, that everything's gonna be great. But with that comes a couple things. So to go back, my test that I was doing brought on a lot of subconscious PTSD, I think. And I think that that's why it made me really nervous, is because I was doing these exact tests 3 years ago with, 5 liters of oxygen. I couldn't even really do the test. They'd bring me in, I need more oxygen. I'd have to get the arterial gas, which is the IV right here, and it measures your O2 levels for when you take your oxygen off. And it was just like a journey that I never want to experience ever again. And being back in that same environment, even feeling as good as I did, it just does something to you that I think is really normal and common. But I want to let you know that if you experience that, whether it's with transplant, whether it's with anything, where you're brought back to a situation that feels very eerily similar to, a bad time in your life, that it's so normal to feel that. Luckily, I've always been a person that can talk myself through things. Like, I have anxiety, but I'm really, really good at reasoning with myself and kind of coming back to a level head of like, I'm okay. Like, I can embrace everything that's happening to me now, and I can feel great. It doesn't diminish, like, I definitely still feel those things. But yeah, it was like I was having the same test done around the same time that I did 3 years ago, and it's just a lot of similarities. And I think it sneaks up on you because, like I said, I do pride myself as a person who doesn't really allow things to affect me like that, but sometimes it does, and that's okay. So to move on, like I said, I got my COVID booster. And around 7 p.m. after my appointment, I fell asleep until midnight, woke up, and then didn't go back to sleep again until 4 a.m. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened when I woke up at midnight. So when I woke up at midnight, I was sitting there and I just started thinking about my appointment and how lucky that I am. And all of a sudden, it just came over me, like I just cried. I just bawled my eyes out, and I was just like, saying to God, like, thank you so much, because this is something that I can't even comprehend sometimes, that this is my life now, because I lived 20 years of my life, like a crash course. Now that I'm able to be healthy and like have these things, sometimes comes survivor guilt. And if you've ever had survivor's guilt, it's hard, because it's hard to appreciate and take in your own victories. So I was like, my appointment went really well. Why am I crying? I'm overwhelmed that I got this. Why me? Like, why are my donor's lungs so amazing? Why have they done me so well? And I have to talk myself through, instead of questioning that, to live in the now and to appreciate it all, because it's so amazing. And I need to just celebrate that instead of feeling guilty, but it's just a thing. And if you've ever had a transplant or any other situation, whether that's like a car accident, an accident of any kind, anything where you survived something that maybe someone else didn't, that you knew or didn't know, or whatever the case may be, you have survivor's guilt. And I think it's just innate in us as humans to have that. And I think mine comes from, like, I know some people who had a transplant personally and didn't make it through, and they don't get the same opportunity as I did. And I recognize that, and I take it in really hard sometimes. And when I have really great appointments, that's when I really, really notice it. I think that that's really common when everything should be really good. I think that that's when survivor's guilt gets you the most. Didn't get the opportunity, they don't get the chance. Like, it was taken away from them, whether they didn't make it to surgery, whether they didn't make it through the surgery, whether they passed away, a couple years after, a year after, whatever it is. And I feel like it's really important for me to talk about this. I feel like the first time I ever experienced this, I thought, is this normal? Am I supposed to be in my head about this? Like, is this a normal thing, or do I need to do something about it? But I realized that it is normal, and a lot of my transplant friends have felt this and do feel this. And also, if you don't feel that, that's okay too. Like, everyone's journey is different, but I want to be someone who advocates for us and for anyone who experienced this, because I just want to let people know that they're not alone in feeling this at all. Whether it's the survivor's guilt, or if it's the PTSD, or whatever you're experiencing is so normal, because what we went through is not normal. And like, it's a lot on a person. It's very overwhelming, and it's a lot. So, and I want you guys to know, if you've experienced transplant, or if you've know someone, a relative, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt and uncle, a distant cousin, a friend of a friend, like anyone who's ever experienced a transplant or anything where, they're dealing with trauma, it's a real thing. And before transplant, I was always someone who I believed in that stuff, but I was like, just you're fine. Like, you're fine. You're okay. And I was kind of ignorant to it. And now I realize, like, a lot about how trauma is a real thing. And you do carry things around. And I'll always carry that around, because it's part of me now. And like my song, always be a part of me. Like, it'll that part of me is probably the biggest thing ever. My transplant, my donor, and everything. But yeah, sometimes I just broke down in my bed, and I was just like, thank you so much. Like, why is life unfair to other people though? Like, why didn't they get this chance? Why do I get this chance? And you start to just question why you earned that, or why. Sometimes, to make myself feel a little better, I do say, like, I had such a hard road before transplant though. Like, such a hard road, and it is relieving and very nice to feel like I have a break from a really harsh reality for a really long time. But something also I have to remind myself a lot, and I'm also going to remind you, is that you're not meant to know the answers. And you can drive yourself crazy with like, why do I get this? Why did they get that? Why did someone get the short end of the stick? Why am I blessed beyond? That's when you just have to surrender to what is happening now, and you just have to embrace it and feel it and appreciate it, because we're not meant to know the answers. We're not meant to know the reasons why. You just aren't, and you just kind of have to go with it and have faith in God's plan for your life. And that's kind of where I'm at, but I really wanted to share that, because even after a great appointment with everything that went right, I still had my moment, because I'm used to everything going wrong, and I'm used to things blowing up in my face, really. So it's just a big thing, and it's a weird thing, but I think it is really common, and we need to normalize feeling things like this, because it's human, and like I said, it's innate in us to feel that and definitely have empathy. Something that happened from my COVID booster. So like I said, I got my COVID booster, and like I said, I was up, till midnight, had my little breakdown, and then watched Dance Moms. Like what? And then I went to bed about 4 a.m. Then I woke up at 8 a.m. for my meds, and then fell back asleep till 11. So I'm wide awake. I'm very, very I'm excited to be making this video, but I missed my telehealth appointment. I was supposed to talk to a bone doctor. I completely missed it. I was wiped out after that vaccine. I don't even know what the heck. My arm is not as sore as it was, I feel like, the first couple rounds. But yeah, completely knocked out. I was like, good night. It was just not happening for me. But my DMs on Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to message me on are always open. And thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more content. Today's subscriber shout out goes to Stephanie Cooper. I don't know if I said your last name right. I'm so sorry if I butchered it, but thank you for being a new subscriber, and thank you to all the people that have came recently from my song on Facebook. That means a lot to me that you stuck around and you want to follow my journey. That means so much, and I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate you, Stephanie, for sticking around and watching my videos, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.